to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 16th day of July. Got the SEC Media Days here. Is can Kirby Smart catch Nick Saban? That was talked about today on ESPN. Paul Feynman makes a case there. Going to play some sound bites for that. Jalen Brunson, very good team deal. Team-oriented extension there. It's huge for the Knicks. Also, the big story for the day, I think, is Brandon Ayuk demanding a trade. What's my thought on it? It's not going to be what you think. It really is. Looking at everything, his age, the numbers, everybody's contract. That's an interesting one. And plus, Skip Bayless out. I think he's being fired. The numbers are way down there at FS1. Give you my thoughts on that as well. Let's see anything else here on the horizon. A few notes from the Netflix wide receiver docu-series. I'll talk about that as well. But first, let's take our first and only break here. Had a little bit of an internet problem to start the program, and it looks like it's all up and running now. And I'll be back here in just a short period of time. We'll take two quick commercial announcements, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks.
There's Mac here. Great dude. Okay, now. Hey, Pickles, good to see you. All righty then. So Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade after wanting an extension. Now, you know the 49er sensation. This is his second contract. You know, he was drafted in 2020, really playing well. Just him and Brock Purdy have that chemistry. He's a little quicker down the field than, say, a Deebo Samuel is, per se. And quite frankly, it says he's 2.5 years younger than Deebo Samuel. Okay, Samuel takes a beating there. Samuel's going to be a $28 million cap hit as well. But apparently him and the 49ers have not come up with a mutual agreement there. Brandon Ayuk is. And, you know, he's a $15 million cap hit. Not bad on that fifth-year option. That is very team friendly, you know. And you look at his numbers here. I've got so many screenshots. Okay. Historically, this is what Diana Rossini says. The 49ers get their deal done later in the summer. Of course, today is the 16th. It would be right around this time. We'll see what they want to keep an offer around 26 to 27 a year's below his asking price. He probably wants more, closer to the $30 million range, around that in the area of a Justin Jefferson. Not quite got those numbers per se of a Jefferson, but according to ESPN, the Niners, let's see, The starters from this group finished first in offensive points, 28 offensive efficiency, 76% expected points, and second in year. Oh, this gives me a bunch of crap. I thought this actually was his numbers here. But I'll say this. Ayuk, here it is. Here's another note here. They get their contracts done late in the summer, except for Bosa. They got his done in September last year. George Kittle, August 13th. Fred Warner, July 21st. Deebo Samuel, a couple of years ago, July 31st. That's for the dual threat there. That was before, I want to say, later on that year that they signed with Samuel. They went on and made the trade and got Christian McCaffrey. And note, folks, they have drafted this Ricky Pearsall. C.J. Stroud was really wanting Houston to get them later on in the first round. 49ers find a way to snag him up as well. He's been placed on the non-football injury list. Can be activated anytime. It's not looked to be serious. He was their first-round pick in this year's draft here. Now, you read about – I'm reading some potential trades for an Ayuk. And there's another website called the Pro Football Network. Not the NFL Network. Not Pro Football Talk, Pro Football Network. And they come up with because the Patriots have supposedly been in contact. You know, the Patriots don't really have a true number one receiver. They got guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, who's not a number one receiver here. They're in dire needs of a receiver. And they throw out guys like Jonathan Jones, the cornerback there for the Patriots. He's the number 2 there behind Gonzalez, which is their second-year player. They're a high first-round pick. They're really high on him. They want to keep him, but they want to throw in this potential trade scenario where you throw in a Jonathan Jones, per se, the cornerback out of New England, and a second-round pick in 2025. Well, the 49ers are in win-now mode. You've got Brock Purdy. This is his third year. This year and next year, you're getting him for nothing. And then after that, you got to sign him because he was drafted in the seventh round. You do not get the fifth-year option if you're not drafted in the first round. I just found that out this year. So guys like Will Levis, this year, next year, okay, if he even makes it that far. I digress. So anyways, so you're looking at all this, okay, and you're hearing guys like maybe a Matthew Judon, who's 32 years old, is a proven pass rusher, wants a contract in the last year of his contract, or 30-year-old Jonathan Jones and a second-round pick and maybe a fourth round later on. Ayuk is right smack dab at his prime, Pro Bowl level type of player. That wouldn't really be a good. Now, the second-round pick sounds good because New England's probably going to pick pretty high. But I will say this. If New England, I wouldn't accept those trades. I would not accept that. If New England offered a first-round pick, because Trent Williams is not getting any younger, and my scouts tell me there's a left tackle next year, possibly look at that because New England may be picking 5th to 10th. That's a different story and a player to beat. If they offered a first-round pick, possibly, and a player, possibly, I would take that, especially if we think Pearsall can play. If a Pearsall is looking good in camp, because you still got Deebo Samuel, you still got George Kittle, okay. And I want to say they re-signed. Let's see, I think did I take down their depth chart? Yeah, I ended up getting the Knicks depth chart, but I didn't get the 49ers. But by the way, I mean, you've got a 31-year-old. You got a 31-year-old George Kittle. Now, he's only a $12 million. But Deebo Samuel, Now you're looking at a $28 million cap hit there. All right. And I want to say at wide receiver, they did not re-sign their guy. I thought they did. So their depth chart is you got Ricky Pearsall, Danny Gray, Jacob Kraut. These guys I never heard of. Chris Conley, remember he used to play with Kansas City many years ago. So they would Juwan Jennings. Excuse me, I stand corrected. Jennings is still on the roster, and of course they got Logan Thomas in their depth chart there. So it's hit and miss there with Juwan Jennings and Deebo Samuel. I think they would probably be okay if they moved off of him this year. But that being said, New England's not going to come off their first round pick. Other potential trade partners will be a Washington team. I couldn't find anybody on Washington's depth chart that could help this 49er team. Okay, I could not find anybody. So you need help this year. So they're in a little bit of a pickle, if you ask me. The 49ers are. So essentially, I would just try to extend him. I'd try to get close to that $30 million number. And if Pearsall can play, I would probably try to find a team desperate enough to give up a second, maybe a late first-round pick for Deebo Samuel. Samuel being 28, probably be more towards the second or third round, but you get that $28 million. You get that cap relief because you got to look. So essentially, if you're John Lynch, you got to look ahead because they're going to re-sign Purdy at some point. All right? They're going to extend Purdy at some point. He's going to command think about it this way. I know Purdy is not all world. I get it. But he's still going to be 45 to 55 because of the way the market lands once his contract comes available. Okay? So essentially, I would probably try to work out something with Ayuk and bring him back. I know you all wouldn't think that. I don't think they can get equal value. Now, I know there's a sucker born every day. Somebody offers, if New England comes up with the first round pick, I don't think that's going to happen. But if they do come up with that first round pick, you make that move and try to get another player per se to fill in there. I don't think they're going to go back to the Super Bowl this year. Teams that lose the Super Bowl traditionally don't get back. They're not thinking that in the locker room. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just telling you from my perspective, you still want to have one key player to play off of Brock Purdy going into the future per se. And I really, you can move off Kittle for a pick, and you can move off of Deebo for some picks in the near future. The closer you get towards the end of their contract, and when Purdy comes up, then you're not way down. You're not way down in salary cap issues once his cap comes to play, if that makes any sense. Now, is the Chargers could really use an Ayuk. They could use an Ayuk. They just got rid of two guys. They drafted a guy. They went offensive lineman. They are paying Justin Herbert. They do have some salary cap issues. But mind you, folks, once you sign a guy and extending, usually that money don't hit the first year or two. Usually it's like $6 or $7 million. It's a pretty low cap hit that first year once you extend that player there. So they could possibly go after an Ayuk. This could be a trade deadline move. What if a team gets a player hurt in a training camp? What if the Lions per se? What if Audemars St. Brown, God forbid, gets injured like a season-ending type of injury? If I'm Detroit, I would go after Brandon Ayuk because I feel like we have a Super Bowl team. If I am the Detroit Lions per se, and I'll lose a player of that caliber. Would a Kansas City do that? If say for instance, if Kels went down, would they go after an IU or go after George Kittle? I would up the price on them. I would up the price, but I'm saying with a Baltimore, if they lost a key player at the wide receiver position. So it's something to monitor. John Lynch, if I'm Lynch, I try to work it out, and I'm working on moving one of those other pieces, probably a Samuel, if I can, per se. If not, you could play the whole season out and still be okay, and just do it in the offseason and still take that other run at a Super Bowl. But I would lean on working it out, not unless I get blown away with multiple first-round picks, something like a Tyreek Hill type of play or Devontae Adams or something where you get I think he got a later pick because he was an older player. But I'm saying first, second-round pick player, something like that, because this is a second contract for Ayuk. He's in his prime. Somebody can use a player. It's not always a hit. I say that because, mind you, folks, look what Tennessee did. Look what Tennessee. I'm here at Nashville. I thought it was perfect. Tennessee gets a first and a third for A.J. Brown, and we're still looking for Trayvon Burks to break off. The third-round pick was Nicholas Petit-Frere. He's been injured, but he looks to be okay. Still may play off, per se, but I'm not sure about that 100%. So you got to make sure you've got that backup there, especially since your quarterback's not an all-world guy. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Joe Burrow, somebody like that. And I still think that if they wanted to do something, they probably should have did it in this past draft, or same thing with the T. Higgins. But that's just the way I think. I don't think you need two dominant, highly paid wide receivers once the quarterback is off his rookie deal. Speaking of that, while I'm talking about receivers, got a chance to watch 99.9% of the first episode of Netflix's Wide Receiver U. And I will say this, between Deebo Samuel, the guy was, he's featured in this thing. Audemars St. Brown, George Kittle. So they follow these 49er teams around. And you could see that Ayuk's a very serious guy. McCaffrey's a very serious guy. Trent Williams is a quiet guy, the left tackle there. You kind of need a guy that kind of lighten the load a little bit, per se, in a huddle. And I do notice that Kittle and Samuel do that. Deebo was named after, that's his nickname. His dad gave him that because he reminded him he was a little bit of a bully growing up, and he was a bigger guy. He's just a thick kid, always been thick out of South Carolina. And that nickname comes from the Friday movie, Pickles. Speaking of the 49ers, I figured I'll just transition into that. Some little fun facts there. I thought that was interesting. And, it shows a guy like a George Kittle. Here's my only knock on Kittle from now versus when he was first brought in out of Iowa, which is tight end U. I hope you all like my interview there with Scott Morganroth here. Boy, he is a great interview. I want to thank him for coming on the program from the South Florida Tribune. But anyways, I think Kittle's a little too thin. I think he should probably add that 20 back on, per se. But he, having a lot of fun, kind of a prankster, a jokester, always looking to make people laugh. A guy that likes to party a lot, kind of reminds me of Kels a little bit. I'm glad he's married. I think that Kittle's the kind of guy, by watching Wide Receiver U, I'm just one episode in. The guy has 3 touchdowns on his birthday. His birthday was on a Thursday night. I think it was against the Rams or somebody. And man, that dude had the hat trick. But he's too hit and miss. He's not as consistent as he used to be. I'm glad the dude's married. He likes to party like a rock star. I think he'd be in trouble if he wouldn't. That wife of his, who he met in school, she's a former Iowa basketball player. Their kid may be a great athlete. at some point. She has fun with him, but she keeps him in check. But him and Debo keep that team from getting overly. They're not loose. I mean, Joe Montana, the famous story about Joe Montana trying to calm down his team in the Super Bowl, I want to say in '89 against the Cincinnati Bengals. He said, "Hey, look, there's John Candy in the stands. The funny man, John Candy." It helped cool down the temperature there for the guys who are not playing too uptight there. So these guys are good for this team. But I do think it's eventually become Brock Purdy's team and whatnot. They're paying Fred Warner. They're playing, obviously, you got to pay Trent Williams. You got to pay Trent Williams, paying some guys on the defensive line per se. So you can't pay everybody. But I thought that wide receiver Netflix thing is pretty freaking good. Audemars St. Brown, dad, two-time Mr. Universe, underachieved a little bit at USC. He fell all the way to the 4th round. And like a lot of guys, he's also featured in this Netflix documentary. And this is the team I got going to the Super Bowl. He catches 200 balls a day from the judge machine. And he named Pickles. He named every single, it's like 14 players, 14 other receivers drafted ahead of him in the draft that he was drafted in. And one of them was the Titans' Dez Fitzpatrick from Louisville, which that was a big miss by the Tennessee Titans. They're not drafting Audemars St. Brown there. And, 200 balls a day from the judge machine, workout warrior. He's another guy. He's very fit, very motivated. He probably should add on about 5 or 10 pounds. Tore his oblique last year, came back, tough son of a gun. Dad really works with him. Dad, former Mr. Universe, really works with him. Probably needs to add a little on himself to keep him stay healthy. I think a lot of these players, people gave Patrick Mahomes a hard way to go because he had a dad bod, had a little bit of a gut. You kind of need a somewhat of a layer of fat. Don't have to be fat, but I noticed that football players stay healthy when they're flexible, like Mahomes. He does borderline yoga-like stuff. And when they got a little bit of layer of fat, particularly your defensive lineman there, it helps them just absorb the hits better. But if you're razor thin and too muscular, overly, you're more in the gym than you are in the football field. But I do like his work ethic. He's a great guy to watch on this particular documentary. It's really good. It's going throughout the season with all these particular players, and I just got a chance to watch one. It gives you highlights of Randy Moss making big catches in there. He's kind of like he was the opening narrator. I should have played that soundbite. It's pretty good. Called the Wide Receiver U, and talks about the speed of these players here per se. But so far so good. Again, I'm only one episode in. That is on Netflix. Netflix Smart, like Hard Knocks. By the way, Hard Knocks tonight, they're going to have another episode with the Giants, which is awesome. The behind the scenes stuff. Pickles thinks so too. I do think the little bit of fat helps. I mean, I think about guys like Albert Hainsworth, and you look at these bodybuilders that they're just not flexible enough, and guys that are that look like they're cut out of granite per se, particularly your defensive linemen, they just don't stay healthy for some reason. I can't remember the guy's name here that signed with the I'll give you his name real quick. He was with the 49ers last year. He's with the Saints this year. And he's a defensive lineman, second overall pick out of Ohio State here. and he's just not quite. He is just not quite as a great a pro. Chase Young is what I'm trying to say here. Chase Young, I remember him with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was playing them on like a game, and Mike Tomlin said, "Man, we haven't lost enough games to get a guy like you," because he saw him without a shirt on. He's really cut, but Chase Young's hurt all the time, folks. He's hurt all. And if you compare him to a guy like Aaron Donald, Donald's pretty cut, but Donald's got a little bit of a layer of fat on him, like a Reggie White. And Donald could just squeeze right through an offensive lineman. And one of the greatest of all time. Pickles mentions Reggie White, Albert Hainsworth. Look, just, people made fun of him. Phil Simms. I think it was Phil Simms talking about, man, he's got lightened up on the Happy Meals. That might have been Boomer Esiason. And I'm thinking, yeah, Happy Meal guy is getting in the backfield constantly and stopping that run. And I'll mention Albert Hainsworth a little bit later in the program. You know what? Matter of fact, let's transition there. Okay. Back to the round ball, the way the cable guy would say it. Jeez, I can't think of the guys. Jim Carrey. Back to the round ball. All right. Now, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson signs a massive team-friendly deal to stay with the Knicks for a few more years, okay? Brunson, over the weekend, Brunson afforded the squad room for additional aid on the roster, passing up $113 million to make a team-friendly 4-year, $156 million deal. Brunson will be, obviously, he's going to be on there this season, but he's going through 25 to 27, 28 season. He's only going to be 31, by the way, from the 27-28 season. And check this out. He's a $40 million. Now, we're talking NBA here, folks. And I'm going to get Matt New Yorker's opinion probably on Thursday. We'll talk about this as well. But Jalen Brunson, a $40 million cap hit. When you've got guys 60, 70 million, I mentioned already, by the way, I mentioned guys like Jason Tatum, okay? Jason Tatum's towards the end of his deal, he's going to be a $71 million cap hit with his player option coming up towards the end of his deal. It's $300+ million deal. So Brunson per se, he'll be a $40 million cap hit. He has a player option at 32 in 28 and 29 season. And you think to yourself, man, is this guy a sucker? No, just look at it this way. He's got former teammates from Villanova, Mikal Bridges. He's got Josh Hart on the team, DiVincenzo on the team as well. I remember they made it to the Eastern Conference semifinals, should have made it to the finals. Everybody was injured per se. Then, of course, they've added Mikal Bridges here in the offseason, and they've re-signed OG Anunoby, who's only 26, by the way. We mentioned that before. But look at it this way. And, he fits in well with Tibbs, Tom Thibodeau and his system. But look at it this way, folks. How many times have you heard a player say, man, I should have never took that team-friendly deal. Man, they really ripped me off. I'm just not happy. I'm broke now. I really should not have took that team-friendly deal. Now, think about Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen in 1991, it was like a $15 million 7-year deal that the owner, Mr. Reinsdorf, knew he was signing a bad deal. He says, Scotty, do you sure you want to sign a deal this long? The NBA is getting it's getting some tread here. We're going to make more money. You sure you want to do this? This is great for me, but not for you. Scotty, in that last dance, in a very country voice, I had to look out for my mom, and his brother, he's real country too. He said, he bought my mom a house. He did that. Well, he was like 190 something towards the end of that deal, the year before the end of it. One of the lowest paid players in the league for his type of play. But the owner was trying to talk him out of it. But he says, I'm not going to renegotiate once you get there, but I want to try to talk out of it. Albert Haynesworth. I still remember Albert Haynesworth saying, yeah, it was less money, but I was a heck of a lot happier in Tennessee than I was in Washington. He says, I wish I would have just stayed in Tennessee with Washburn, my defensive line coach. And I had my friends. I had my family. He had everything set up there. Brunson's dad's working with the team. All right. But you do hear players that say, yeah, there was a little bit more money, 8 to 10, in this case, maybe 100 million over a few years per se. But what if he went to like Washington Wizards? What if he went to a team with just nobody? The Wizards is the only one I could think of right now that is just really bad right now. A team like that, Atlanta Hawks, or people says a Detroit who Cade Cunningham, maybe you could try to sell him to play with Cade Cunningham. So I never really hear that. I always hear it the other way around. Man, I probably shouldn't have took that extra. I want to keep my guys around. You think about guys like Brady taking less. There's been other basketball players. For one thing, Durant took less. He could have got more money and not went to the Golden State Warriors. He could have got a lot more money if he would have just stayed with OKC and really tapped out. But he wanted to get away from Westbrook. Westbrook was getting on his nerves. But this is a case where you're really you're really happy per se, and he still has a chance to win a championship. And you're in one of the most basketball meccas of the world, Madison Square Garden. You've got regular season Tuesday night game sounding like game 7 of the NBA Finals sometimes. And then the playoffs, it's every single possession the crowd is into it. You think about guys like, these guys are still household names. I had to look it up for a second. But as soon as I started typing in 1992 New York Knicks roster, back when they were finals team, remember 94, the OJ year? OJ's running from the police. They're in the finals. Ewan, Oakley, Starks. I still see those guys on I know Oakley had some problems a few years ago. Looked like he had had a kind of fallout with security or whatever. But he's still renowned amongst the fan base. Plus, there's still opportunity for him. There's still opportunity because that's such a talked about organization when they're playing well. Just in and around New York City, it seems like it's just a never-ending amount. I mean, I see Starks all the time. You and Oakley pop up all over the place. Mark Jackson. Look how many years Mark Jackson got in broadcasting. He 20 years in ESPN or something like that. 15, 20 years there. Jeff Van Gundy, the former coaches. The Knicks always seem to get post-playing, especially this particular group, which the fans love. You got, 7 million people in that city. That don't count Knick Nation per se. So it's not like he's going to go broke. There's opportunity after opportunity there for him in this particular situation. I just do not see players going back and say, man, they really ripped me off. They usually say, well, I wish I would have stayed back there where I was really happy at. I took this extra money. I don't like the coach. Now he's been fired. I don't get along with nobody. And, and it's still a mass media capital, even though that is, you could still make money anywhere. I mean, OKC, San Antonio, whatnot. So anyways, and his dad's there. So it's like a family affair. He's still somewhat pretty young, like 26, 27 years old, right in the middle of his prime. And it gives them some flexibility to make another big trade, and go after a marquee player who may or may not be working out with another organization. So kudos to the Knicks organization. I'm happy for Brunson. And yes, the fans see that. And they're very appreciative of that. He's going to be that much more of a megastar locally. That doesn't count the fact that he's going to get commercials there, if he doesn't already have any, per se. So it's a lot of little stuff there of playing in these particular markets here. Okay. I will get into this a little bit more as the week goes along. Going to the college football game here. The SEC Media Days are here. And SEC is awesome, I tell you. There's been a lot of talk about a team like Georgia. I've already made a note to myself. Time's going by quick this summer. I'm working on the show, working on marketing. I did some clips on Monday and working Uber on the weekend, well, mainly Saturday, so I can have more advertising money. You see, I've got a new tie. I've got a new microphone. I'm advertising. I haven't got a chance to get my Phil Seal magazine, but I'm going to give you some college football takes there, folks. And here is Paul Feinbaum talking about now that Nick Saban is gone. And I knew this was going to be the story of the offseason. As soon as Nick Saban retired, I knew there was going to be how far can Kirby Smart go? How far can Georgia go? The guy's 47 years old. He's already got 2 national championships, kind of slid in on an already good Georgia team. He makes them a great Georgia team, recruits just a little bit better than Mark Richt, and he elevates them to a championship level team there. And they've been unbelievable. And Paul Feinbaum says, hey, listen, the guy's got a better resume than Nick Saban at this age. Nick Saban didn't win his first national championship until the age of 50 back in 2003 with the LSU Tigers, per se. Remember, then he went for a few years, coached a couple years in Miami, came back to Alabama. And then we know what happened there. He won 6 more national championships. He considered the GOAT, and I'll consider him the GOAT. But Paul Feinbaum thinks he could catch him. He could catch him with this new format. Listen up. This was today at the SEC Media Days. I think it's down in, I want to say it's in like Dallas this year or something.
Saban 2.0 with this new CFP format this season? Absolutely, because the morning after he won his 2nd national championship, Greeny was asking me, is he the king of college football? And the answer is yes at that moment, but you need time to win as much as Saban did, and Kirby's going to be able to do that because this new CFP format with 12 teams is much more forgiving. You don't have to win the SEC to get into the playoff. So this allows for teams to repeatedly get in. And with what Kirby has, there's no reason that we shouldn't see them every single year as a factor in this, which opens the possibility of what you're talking about.
Here's Paul Feinbaum.
I totally agree, Heather. And you think about Kirby Smart. He's a 47-year-old Nick Saban. And he is Nick Saban. He is the best coach in college football. And with all due respect to Nick Saban, He was the best coach in college football last year and the year before. He has not lost a regular season game since 20.
That's true, but he did lose the SEC championship to Nick Saban. Let's not forget that. Yes, they've been the deepest team. They have been the deepest team in the league. No regular season losses since 2020. That's unbelievable. I mean, that is rolling. But Tennessee just now really getting their footing. Florida has been on a downward slope. They're a level down. Okay. They're a level down. Kentucky's never really been close quite on Georgia's level. And then you got Vanderbilt, which is an easy W. They have to do the cross. This is prior to this year, which is they don't have any East or West. But, you know, Auburn was changing coaches. They seem to play Auburn every year. Sometimes you just need to be lucky. You just need to be lucky. Auburn's changing coach. Auburn will be better. Auburn will be better. They've got the former Ole Miss there, coach there. They're going to be much better. They've shown to be much better. Okay. LSU, Brian Kelly, much better. Now you have Texas and Oklahoma, although I'm not in love with Oklahoma's coach. Texas is the real deal. That's not going to be an easy out. It's just that much more harder. It's going to be the luck of the draw here. But here's more. The Mad Dog Russo, formerly of Mike the Mad Dog Russo's now with ESPN. He's going back and forth here with Paul Feinbaum on, is it going to be easy because he can get in through the 12-team playoff? And I'm not sure. I'm kind of with Mad Dog Russo on there. Here, listen up.
Football last year and the year before. He has not lost a regular season game since 20. One play in the SEC championship game cost him very likely a three-peat, something that hasn't happened in college football since the 30s. He studied under Saban. He mastered everything that's part of Saban's great process. And then in many ways, he toppled Saban at the end. He lost the big game against Nick Saban. Don't misunderstand me. He's lost to Saban twice in SEC championship games.
Exactly.
One he overcame in the national championship game in 21. But last year they couldn't do it. This year, Kirby Smart would have lost that game and probably still gone on to win the playoffs because of the 12-team playoff. But Kirby Smart really is at the epicenter of college football right now, and I don't think there's anybody on his level.
Paul, it's going to be a lot harder to be dominant over a longer period of time. Yes, they got a better chance to get into the top 12 because obviously more teams have the SEC. They're going to play more games. Schedule's going to be a little tougher. And remember, getting into a semifinal is that's not what Georgia's trying to do. They're trying to win. And same for Texas. They're trying to win a championship. And now he's got to win at least one extra game in the playoffs because he's going to have to win an extra game because even if he's in the top 8, he's going to play in a quarterfinal, semifinals, and a final. He's going to occasionally lose that extra game. So he might have a better chance to get in the playoff scenario. Like last year he didn't because he lost at the wrong time. This year that wouldn't occur. If it was the same scenario, he'd be in. But once he's in, he's got to win an extra game because there's more games he's going to have to win. So he'll lose that extra game once in a while. He's not going to win those extra games all the time. So I think it'll be a little harder. What, Saban got 7? I think it'll be a little harder to get to that number based on the amount of teams that will have a chance to win a championship.
He makes a good point. Look how spread out the league is. Who would have thought Michigan would have been as good as they are? You know, who would have thought? I wouldn't have thought that. I'm out of Nashville, folks. I would not have thought that Tennessee would have beaten Alabama a few years ago. Okay? I would not have thought that. But who would have thought Texas beat Alabama? Alabama used to dominate Texas. The talent's more spread out now. Rather be lucky than good. The talent's more spread out now. So, say, for example, and I still think they still have the SEC championship. I have to go back and double check. Even if they don't, look at, say, for instance, if they don't win the conference winners, I think they get like a bye week or something. But the other teams below them get the home games. What if their loss puts them down far enough where they have to go on the road and say, play a tough team on the road? All right. Because the SEC is strong anyways. So you're cannibalizing each other. Say if you're playing, for whatever reason, they play an LSU at the end of the season. They lose that LSU game, and then they got to go on the road, say, for example, to an Ohio State. Remember, Ohio State was one play away from beating them last year. Now, that was with Stroud. So then you have to play tough SEC game towards the end. Then you got to go play a tough team at home. What if it's a Big Ten team and it's freezing up there? Georgia plays in a dome. You're playing in the cold there. Just for example, you're playing in the cold there. Then you got to go play at a neutral site to a team that essentially been off. That's going to be much harder than, say, running the tape. Now, it does water down somewhat the regular season. It does water down the regular season a little bit. You can lose 2 or 3 games. You just don't want to be playing. It's kind of like the NFL now, Pickles, right? You don't want to be playing your worst football towards the end of the season. You want to be playing your best football down the stretch. Plus, I don't think he's going to catch Saban. Look at other guys that's got 2. We thought Dabo Swinney was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. He got 2 6, 7 years ago. Now there's a possibility he could get fired from Clemson or take an NFL job because he's tired of this NIL crap and transfer portal stuff. Urban Meyer, he won his 2 national championships in a 5-year period also. Well, he had heart problems and there was too much stress on him. He took a year off and then he goes to Ohio State a few years later. Then he wins his 3rd national championship. Bobby Bowden won 2 national championships. It's getting over that 2. When you start getting in that 3 range, you're in rarefied company. He's still in. There's a lot of people. There's quite a few coaches there in that 2 national championship range there. Once you start getting to 3 and up, and then you got to stake 7, I don't think it's going to be that easy. And they are the deepest team. Don't get me wrong. But college football is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the NIL is spreading the talent out more and more and more. It's going to come down by crucial coaching, time of possession, right call, right time, substitution, all that stuff. That's all NFL stuff. Kickers. I can't wait. I really can't wait. So the answer to this, he's not going to catch Nick Saban, even though he's had this much success early. I could say I think he'll probably win 3 or 4 national championships, perhaps, because he's still not even 50 years old. But 7, I'm not sure. People saying LeBron's better than Jordan. I'm saying he's still there at 4, guys. Got to get 6. You got to get 6. So anyways, I didn't want to lose track here. So Skip Bayless, there's a report, New York Post is reporting, FS1, Fox, Skip Bayless, he's going to be out this summer. He's got a few more shows to do with Uninterrupted. He's done. Essentially, they're saying he's going to be fired, per se. Skip Bayless is going to be fired. You remember this time last year, there was the breakup with him and Shannon Sharpe. They're arguing on the air. There was an issue with him talking about Tom Brady's better than you. You're jealous. Let me play it. Because I got a bigger point I want to make. Here's him having a fallout here last year, if you guys recall, with Shannon Sharpe.
hate by a guy who's jealous that he's still playing at a high level at 45 when you had to stop at 35.
Yeah, that's what you do.
That's the point.
That's what you do. Every time I call something into question, I'm jealous.
No.
Yeah, I did what I
never
did.
said you were jealous of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I did what I did. You make it seem like I was a bum. I'm in the effing Hall of Fame.
Okay,
I got
so
3
what?
Super Bowls.
So what?
So what?
He's way better than you were.
I'm better than
Way
you.
better.
Yeah, I got to see what you do. You take personal shots.
No, I don't take personal shots. You started it.
Time out. You would take a personal shot at me.
I didn't take a personal shot at you.
Wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
You would take a personal
Put your glasses back on.
Can I finish? You're willing to take a personal shot at me to say this man is better than me because I say he's playing bad this year?
Well, because you just
Go ahead.
you disrespect him. It's just so.
You
know what? It's beneath your
You would
dignity.
disrespect me to support him. You and your damn child.
Hate by a guy
the guy
who's jealous
who
that
put
he's
that
still
on
playing at a high level at 45.
on YouTube, he's mocking Skip Bayless. So they had a fallout about that. The DeMar Hamlin situation. A lot of what Skip Bayless does, he has callous comments. But now some of the former players, they've tried over the years. Matt Barnes of the world, they tried to intimidate him. Richard Sherman, we know the back and forth he's had with Sherman. So now he overly goes too far the other way where he's pandering to the players a little too much. He's a little bit intimidated by the former players, and he leans too much into his Dallas Cowboy fandom that is tiresome. With the fan, that the listeners were tired of hearing it. So the ratings are in the tank. By the way, Shannon Sharp, which by the way, that was Sharp overreacted there. He knows he overreacted there. He should have just laughed it off and said, that don't have nothing to do with nothing the way I play. I'm just critical. And he was right. Brady wasn't playing well at that time. That was his last year with Tampa Bay. He's 45 years old. But all that being said, Sharp, 72 million views with his Club Shay Shay, which I'm a regular subscriber now of that show. It's really good. He did win that divorce per se. I think they were there like 8 or 9 years. He won that. I mean, he's doing really well. He's also signed with ESPN. He does a show, I think, with Stephen A. Smith. But his Club Shay Shay show, a lot of entertainers there, athletes, comedians, very funny, very good. Ratings out of this world. Like I said, 72 million views, downloads on that Cat Williams interview there, doing really well. As far as Skip Bayless, now I'm hearing that ESPN's going to want him back. Maybe he will go back and have some arguments there with the Stephen A. Smith or something. So FS1, they're slipping. You got guys like Nick Wright, who was just not my cup of tea. He's a guy that went to a great school and kind of got on the fast track. Colin Cowherd, his contract is up in 25. They've already lost Shannon Sharp. Marcellus Wiley told him to take a hike. He's doing what I'm doing. He started a YouTube channel. Jason Whitlock, he went over to the conservative lane and did Blaze TV. So they don't really have anybody left there. They got up really big, and then they kind of scattered. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of guys don't want to work at ESPN either. So it's really interesting the way it's all playing out per se. Now, Fox, they want to hire old Sports Scope. That's fine, but I don't know. I'd take my talents to them or Netflix. I'd prefer Netflix because I kind of like their flavor right now. But either way, we'll see how the thing plays out. Skip may retire. He's in his 70s, you know. He's in his 70s. Yeah, Cowherd has been, I tell you what, he's a guy that's making a lot of money off he's supposedly going to make a lot of money off his podcast network also that he does on the side called The Volume, because he has a deal done with Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp. That's going to be a rocket shot there for him. Cowherd, he has a lot of his producers do his work now, and he's getting some of the quarterbacks mixed up. If you guys recall, a few weeks, was it not been a few months ago, he named one of the quarterbacks, and it was a quarterback. It was the quarterback that recently got killed. He wasn't paying attention, and he never did own it and apologize about it. So he's having a lot of his guys behind the scenes do the work. He's gotten better since he's got those women sideshow hosts out of there, so he can kind of concentrate a little bit more. He works really well with McIntyre. But as far as going back to Skip, yeah, he's in this. That dude may retire and do like podcasts like what we do or individual type of shows. But he's really not that good by himself. Skip Bayless is. He's more better of the debate type of format here, where he's not intimidated by the person that he is debating across the table. Rarely agree with it. He picks Dallas to win everything. Scoot, you're easy. I'll just pick the 49ers against you every time, you know. He puts on his Cowboy jersey. I mean, he thinks it's 92 again, Pickles. You know what I'm saying? Fox be better off. Hey, man, I'll blow him out of the water there. You know, now Richard Sherman, Pickles, now he's gotten into some trouble. He's gotten into some off the personal stuff that's went on with him. And he's going to have to get it squared away, or he's his own worst enemy, per se. You can Google those stories. I'll try to get a little bit more in the SEC media days. Start giving you some predictions in the near future. Like I said, I thought I had this year's Phil Steele magazine. I haven't. I've been real busy. I've got it in my calendar. I'm going to get one because I want to get that still. I like to get the matter. I like to know his quarterback predictions, and I like to get his returning starters. And, of course, I also do it with some of the internet recruiting as well. And transfer portal, which is now a big deal in college. I'm hearing and reading that Ohio State's going to be like 1 or 2. I think Texas is going to be good. And Georgia's going to be good. Georgia's going to be really good. Those 3 right there is who I'm leaning towards winning the national championship as of today, folks. If you like the show, share the show. We have a new page. I got a little bit behind today, but the new Facebook page is The Real Sports Scope. It does look a little bit like this. I'm working on my design a little bit more, but we got that set up here. So I'll be back tomorrow, folks. We'll be getting into that and give me a little comment on that. Hard Knocks, which is coming on tonight. I'll watch that and see where the Giants are as of today. So have a good night, everybody. Tomorrow, otherwise, I'll see you same time, same place here on the Real Sports Scope.